Hello, welcome back to Snugglewood, young Dreamlynx. My name is Irene. Sink down into the coziest part of your bed and let tonight's calming tale and warm sounds relieve you of any worries and guide you toward a deep, restful night's sleep under these beautiful stars above. And so our story begins in a place called Snuggleton and the sleepy giant tale of Campfire Tales. Beneath the violet canopy of a duskened sky, a stunning golden mist lingered over the deep emerald forest of Snugglewood. It was the hour when the world whispered its secrets, when time seemed to slow and the air breathed with the sound of life settling into rest. The gentle flicker of a campfire nestled within Snuggleton's stunning meadow illuminated a gathering of forest dwellers, their faces painted with a glow of warmth and calm. The campfire crackled softly, its gentle pops and whispers blending with the sounds of the forest. The air around Snuggleton's meadow was draped in tranquility, with the softest rustle of leaves overhead as a playful breeze drifted through the towering oaks and gentle birches. The trees seemed to lean inward, forming a natural canopy of rich green and sapphire hues, as though they too were drawn to the warmth of the fire and the stories it held. Above the sky was dusted with stars, their light capturing the earth below in a tender glow, like freckles scattered across the landscape. Grass blades, tipped with dew, sparkled like tiny jewels in the fire's light. The silhouettes of the gathered creatures moved languidly, their forms outlined by golden light. Quiet shuffles of paws and soft, rhythmic breaths created a soothing melody, a soundscape that belonged solely to this place, this moment. The ground was covered with a lush carpet of moss and clover, its scent earthy and calming, carrying the very soul of Snuggleton's forest to those seated by the fire. Nearby, the soft bubbling of a creek threaded through the nighttime symphony, weaving harmonies of water over stone, a lullaby older than time. On the far edges of the meadow, lavender bushes swayed, their fragrance rising in tender waves that mingled with the scent of burning oak and pine. The soft strands of their perfume seemed to wrap around the campfire gathering, adding to the balmy enchantment settling over the group. Towering above others, the sleepy giants settled themselves on moss-wrapped stones, worn smooth over centuries. Their daunting size was nothing compared to the gentleness radiating from their every movement. They moved with a slow, deliberate grace, their massive hands cradling mugs filled with fragrant herbal infusions. The warmth of these drinks mingled with the fire and the air, forming an invisible cocoon that encased the gathering in safety and serenity. When they repositioned, the ground rumbled briefly, a reminder of their ancient presence, but their movements were so measured that even the smallest creatures nuzzled closer together instead of scattering. Small, sparkling insects hovered in the firelight. Their iridescent wings created halos of soft colour with each flutter. A moth, its wings speckled like a galaxy, settled on the bark of a log close to the fire. Beyond the range of light, where the shadows stretched thin, unseen eyes blinked slowly. A family of otters reclined in the underbush, their fur bristling as they breathed in unison. An owl perched in the hollow of an ancient oak, feathers puffed round, its golden eyes reflecting the flame's glow. All were drawn to the magnetic presence of the campfire, its light a beacon of comfort in the velvet dark stillness. The sleepy giant leaned forward, a wide smile spreading across their kind face. The deep resonance of the environment seemed to heighten as they began to weave their first tale of the evening. Though no words echoed into the air, it was as if the ripples of their silent storytelling reached each listener on a level beyond sound. The imagery of the tale, the rise and fall of ancient hills, the sweep of giant hands shaping rivers and valleys, flowed like a current through the gathering. It was a story that came alive in the minds of those present, painting vivid pictures in their thoughts as they silently felt the weight of each wordless note. The campfire seemed to swell in response, its flames licking higher, brightening the shadows that wavered in rhythm with the unspoken tale. The circle around the fire saw vivid landscapes in their minds. They saw the formation of Snugglewood long ago, its endless trees swaying under songs of starlight and whispers of the wind. The sleepy giants tended to the land in these visions, their hands cradling the fragile balance of life, their enormous size never a threat, but a shield for the vulnerable world that thrived beneath their watch. The imagery grounded the listeners, connecting them deeply with the timeless rhythm of life in Snuggleton. The air grew warmer, as though the fire resonated with the story. The sound of snapping branches filled the quiet but gentle spaces between visions. The breeze softened into threads of stillness, and the stars glimmered like they understood the ancient memories being shared. A hush settled over the gathering as the tale dissolved into the fabric of the night, becoming one with the world once more. The silence was comforting, a pause that felt deliberate, like the forest exhaling. A second tale began, and this one painted the sky with colours of twilight. It carried the essence of adventure, but not the harried kind. This was a tale of discovery, of wandering through the wooded trails of Snuggleton's inner glades. The paths were lit by bioluminescent moss that pulsed with a rhythm so low it felt like the heartbeat of the forest. Images of creatures larger than imagination, yet softer than morning mist, filled the minds of those listening. These were protectors, entities that moved through the woods in a perpetual state of calm. They guided the lost, restored broken branches, and stood watch over the vulnerable spaces where light and shadow danced between the trees. The meadow seemed to draw closer as the tale continued. The lavender's perfume deepened, drawing with it fleeting notes of honey and citrus, carried on the soft wisp of the gentle breeze. Time seemed to bend. Every moment seemed stretched like a billowing, smooth ribbon carried on a slow wind. Eyes began to droop, breaths grew deeper. The comforting resonance of the sleepy giant's unspoken voice carried on like the rolling waves of the ocean, steady and rhythmic. Beyond the campfire, in the farthest reaches of the meadow, the shapes of the trees blended together like watercolour painted across the horizon. The fireflies danced among shafts of moonlight, their glow a gentle, pulsating rhythm of life. Close to the roots of an ancient yew tree, a nest of squirrels slept soundly, their tiny bodies curled within tufts of moss and leaves. Overhead, constellations adjusted subtly, casting down their celestial stories in silent tandem with the ones woven by the campfire gathering. The final tale of the evening was filled with an overwhelming warmth, the kind that lingered like the sun's touch long after it dipped below the horizon. The imagery was slower now, its details spilling out like drops of honey. It spoke of a special place within Snuggleton, a hidden grove encircled by sentinel trees too ancient to measure. Their branches were woven so intricately, they formed a natural cathedral of living wood and light. This grove, the tale seemed to suggest, held the dreams of everyone who had come before. Visitors who found it could almost feel the echoes of slumbering thoughts, each one drifting through the grove like a feather on the wind. Though unseen by the group gathered at the campfire, the storytelling sent ripples through the forest. Distant trees leaned in as though listening, their branches intertwining slightly closer. The stars above shimmered with a subtle glow that seemed warmer, as if their light had been softened by the stories themselves. The small brook sang on with a quiet rhythm, its notes painting the air with memories of every tale ever told in that very spot. And deep within Snuggleton, a gentle energy pulsed, a reminder that the magic of storytelling was alive and well. The gentle lure of the forest stretched into the night like a lullaby, enveloping the gathering with a soft serenity. The sleepy giant leaned back slightly, their expression tranquil and content, as if the tales they had conjured had momentarily bridged the gap between worlds, the ancient and the present, the seen and the unseen. The campfire's steady crackling served as a calming metronome, an anchor in the boundless flow of visions and sensations. And yet, there was still more to tell. The gathering, though growing quieter and more languid, leaned into the moment, their breaths synchronizing with the rhythms of the night. The next story unfolded without introduction, weaving seamlessly into the stillness that had blanketed the glade. This tale began not in Snuggleton, but far beyond its borders, at the place where the restless rivers danced their way through jagged gorges and the wind howled melodies of the earth's untamed spirit. It followed the path of a lone traveller, a creature of mysterious origin, neither completely forest nor entirely flesh, but a union of both. The imagery painted a figure with bark-touched skin, eyes like polished amber, and a stride that resonated with the earth's deep pulse. The travellers' footsteps led them to the edges of Snuggleton, where the verdant canopy grew dense and heavy with whispers of secrets long kept. Their arrival was not brash or sudden, but careful, as if seeking permission before entering the great woodland. The wind greeted them first, bringing with it the soft scent of juniper and pine. And with that scent came a sense of welcome. Slowly, reverently, the traveller crossed the threshold into Snuggleton, their every step matching the rhythm of the forest's heartbeat. The gathering around the campfire could see it vividly now, the deep greens and shadowed hues of Snuggleton's borders, stretching endlessly as if its mysteries were boundless. The traveller's purpose was revealed like a ribbon slowly unwound. This was a pilgrimage of gratitude. The tale unfolded moments of quiet wonder as the traveller moved through the forest. They knelt in the shade of ancient redwoods to give thanks for their towering presence, each one a steadfast guardian of the woodland. By the banks of a crystal-clear creek, they offered silent reverence for the water's eternal flow, its delicate gurgles harmonizing with the symphony of Snuggleton's life. Hours passed within the story's gentle current, though it felt like no time at all. The traveller's path meandered through Snuggleton's inner sanctuaries, each step guided by the guarding heart of the forest. When they grew weary, a moss-covered stone invited them to rest. When hunger pressed softly against their ribs, the forest provided small offerings, berries with jeweled skins and nuts rich with flavour. These gifts were neither abundant nor excessive, a reminder that balance was always paramount within Snuggleton. The imagery filled the air around the campfire with a sense of the same magic, teaching that every act of gratitude nurtures the harmony of shared existence. The tale shifted its focus beautifully, zooming in on the details of one quiet and magical moment. While the traveller wandered a hidden grove, the slightest tinkle caught their attention, a sound more sensation than noise. They followed it, weaving through the trees that seemed to part willingly, opening a path to something extraordinary. Their destination revealed itself slowly, a clearing aglow with soft, unearthly light. This was the home of the chorus, a gathering of luminant beings that had remained unseen until this moment. They hovered there, translucent shapes gently pulsing with opalescent shades of blue and orange. The chorus sang a song that seemed to exist beyond the boundaries of time. It wasn't for hearing alone, but for feeling. Upon hearing this celestial hymn, the traveller wept, not from sorrow, but from an overwhelming sense of connection. The emotions carried by this part of the tale wrapped around the audience like warm cloaks. Though no one uttered a word around the campfire, the collective inhale of awe was palpable. The chorus, the story revealed, sang not for the traveller, but for the harmony of Snuggleton's warmth, a harmony sustained by its inhabitants' shared respect for the natural world. And yet, in that moment, the traveller was part of that balance, a bridge between their world and the forest's eternal essence. When the story's conclusion arrived, it was as soft as the first light of dawn, The traveller left the forest not as they had come, but with the quiet assurance in their steps of one who has known peace. They carried with them not tangible objects, but memories steeped in gratitude, a lesson etched deep within their soul. The sleepy giant moved slightly, their form radiant in the firelight, the shadows softening around them, as if the forest leaned in for more. The weight of the previous tale lingered, its potency felt by every wild creature watching from the brush, and every soul seated before the fire. But the evening's melody wasn't finished yet. The next tale was lighter, like a feather tickling the imagination. It spoke of the mischief of Snuggleton's smallest inhabitants, the glow gnomes. Tiny beings no larger than the palm of a Dreamlynx's hand. These creatures carried lanterns of pure stardust that swayed from the ends of sticks twice their height. The glow gnomes were guardians of twilight, tasked with illuminating the forest paths during the time when the sun and moon exchanged their watches. They weren't solemn about their duties, however. On the contrary, they turned the act of lighting the woods into a frolicking performance, darting to and fro with their lanterns, swinging wildly. The tale painted a scene of playfulness. Imagine glow gnomes tumbling through the air with bursts of laughter that gleamed like miniature fireworks. They chased shadows as though they were leaves caught in the wind, their antics bubbling with joy. Their presence brought this part of the forest, often overlooked, alive with the magic of small wonders. The listeners around the campfire could almost hear their high-pitched giggles, a sound both delightful and fleeting, like the tinkling of wind chimes carried briefly on the breeze. Through this tale, the sleepy giant showed that even the smallest beings in Snuggleton bore great importance. The glow gnomes turned moments of darkness into opportunities for light, guiding lost wanderers gently back to safety, if ever they strayed too close to the hidden edges of the woods. With every sweep of their glowing lanterns, they painted the forest floor with temporary constellations, reminding those who watched that beauty is often fleeting, but its memory lingers forever. The story of the glow gnomes left a sparkling energy hovering in the air. But it began to settle as the sleepy giant exhaled deeply. Their body moved slightly, signaling perhaps that their storytelling was drawing to a close. And yet, one final story awaited, a last whisper of magic to seal the night before sleep claimed its audience. This final story was an ode to the cycle of endings and beginnings. It spoke of the great Lumina tree, an elder so ancient that even the stars themselves had dimmed and brightened countless times beneath its boughs. Its golden leaves glistened during the day, but at night they glowed. The dawn crept over the horizon, filling the meadow with light once more. The sleepy giant's smile spread as they watched their listeners stir from their peaceful slumber. As each person rose to leave, carrying with them the lingering feelings of wonder and magic, they knew one thing for certain. this would not be their last visit to Snuggleton. For in this magical forest, where stories were woven by firelight into the fabric of nature, there would always be more to discover, more to learn, and more to feel. And the sleepy giant would always be there, ready to guide them through the wonders of Snuggleton once again. No matter how many times they returned, each visit would bring new tales, new lessons, and new memories. And in that way, Snuggleton would continue to grow and evolve as long as there were those willing to listen and learn from its wise inhabitants. For balance was key within this enchanted forest, not only between Dreamlynxes and nature, but also between endings and beginnings. The constant cycle of life. As the travellers departed with full hearts and open minds, they whispered a silent promise to return again soon. For the magic of Snuggleton had captured their souls, and they would always find their way back home to its embrace. So let this be a reminder to us all. Never stop listening, never stop learning, and never forget the wonder that lies within the stories of Snuggleton.